You
need a mirror.
I need a mirror.
Well, for like a rear view mirror kind of thing sticking out right here.
Yeah, that would help. All right. So here's the thing about this. We know a couple things, and we have. It was really weird when we started this. So my idea was to have something for teachers to listen to on the way to work, right? And so we started this podcast, and it really was kind of out of demand from them. And what's interesting about it is we have had like thousands of teachers download these things. And if you told me 3 months ago that we would have thousands of teachers interested in listening, a couple people having some conversation about teaching and teachers, I would have never believed it. But man, they're into it, So we have a few people listen, watch on YouTube, maybe a few hundred here and there, and but thousands download it. So it's been fascinating. So here's the thing. Here's what we know is we know that what people love are personal conversations that are absolute, real, and authentic, and uncensored. And so whatever comes up, it's we need the true you. And oh, and here's the other thing. We know it sounds best if you talk real close to that microphone. So you have to get up. So if your nose touches it, that's okay.
Okay.
There you go. You're right in, right?
I'm in there.
In there. All right. So, all right, hey, by the way, I mean to ask you, I haven't really chatted much with you since you moved into the warehouse.
Yeah.
Warehouse living.
It's not fancy warehouse living, but it's not it's not slum.
Yeah. Where is it? Is it by cool. The convention center?
Yes, it's across the street from Dynamo Stadium.
Yes.
Like their billboard. I can tell you what's going on in the game from my living room.
Really?
Yeah, score.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And you played soccer, didn't you?
I did.
I remember that.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it.
I'm going back now.
Yes.
That's some serious memory.
That is good memory.
Skills, they call that.
Oh, yeah.
And all right, so how many square feet you got in that shack?
3,000.
3,000 square feet of warehouse space.
Mm-hmm.
And is it divided into rooms?
It is 3-bedroom, 2-bath, office, a library, and then a big room.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And then is it like when I'm trying to picture what it would look like? Concrete floors.
Mm-hmm. Concrete floors, like that rafters, the
exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And do the walls go all the way to the ceiling, or is it just part way?
What would be the other option?
I don't know. Like I've been in warehouses where like the freaking 30 feet tall or something. So the walls go all the way to the top?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how tall the ceilings are, but we do aerial yoga in there, so it's tall enough for that.
Aerial yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to conjure that up.
So put yourself in like a little sack, when you were you had babies and they wore this, you put them in the sling.
The baby Bjorn.
Put yourself in a big sling.
I did the Bjorn. No, Georgia did. She slung them.
Okay, well, put yourself in a big sling.
Right.
Like huge, like big hammock sling, and do some yoga in it. And
why would people do that rather than sweaty yoga?
You still can get sweaty, but it's it's good. It supports you and it like cradles you and it just feels really good.
Right.
And then it's acrobatic.
I've heard enough.
No, you really haven't. Yeah. So it's you can do flips in it. Have you not seen my aerial yoga video?
I have not.
Okay. Well, you should watch it and you'd be a little bit more interested.
All right. I'm all right.
Because I did a flip into the hammock.
You did?
I did.
All right.
The first time I ever did it, I did that flip.
That changes everything.
So.
All right. So let's get this thing going. All right, you and I are going to chat it up, and we're going to find out about you and all you have going on, and some insights that you have gained over the years of in your coaching business. And we'll talk about what school was for you and parents, and now that you're a mom, and what school is for your kids, and kind of some of your experiences on both sides of the fence. And we'll get down. We're going to figure this thing out.
Hopefully we don't talk about that. Sides of the fence. But,
yeah, we're gonna get to the bottom of it. Don't you worry. Let's kick it off. Teya Sparks is in the house, and we are rolling. Special intro
we weren't
music.
Rolling before.
We're official now. Yes, the Teaching a Rockstar podcast. This week we have Teya Sparks in the house. Hey, listen, also this week, we've been busy. We've been on the phone. A lot of schools calling in for in-services, and this is the time people start getting nervous because they don't have anybody booked for their back-to-school convocation and teacher meetings. And so Floyd County, Kentucky, Banks County, Georgia, Toloso Midway ISD down in Corpus. We have a lot on the books. So also dates are filling up fast. I'm going to do about 15 to 17, 18 dates in August. And I think we have 5 or 6 booked already. So if you're interested in bringing a little Teach Like a Rock Star to you and yours, give us a call soon or we are going to run out of time. Also coming up, we have shows in Little Rock, Oklahoma, the ATL, and my favorite town, second favorite town on the planet, Nashville. And so we'll be coming there in the next 4 and 5 weeks. All right, in the Teaching a Rockstar Intergalactic Studios, Teya Sparks, everybody.
Hello.
All right, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So before we actually got this thing kicked off, we were talking about where you live. You got this kooky little shack that you live. You are a warehouse living kind of gal.
I am.
That's such a cool thing.
It's a very cool thing.
You and I have very different homesteads going on. All right, so tell us about that, because that's like a cool. I've seen like on interesting places to live or whatever Georgia makes me watch on HGTV. And so you live in, at some point it was like a working warehouse.
Yes, I live there and work there. It's big, built out, quirky, funky, awesome space.
Yeah, but when you say you live there and work, you're not like driving a forklift around the warehouse. You have an office and you do events there and you host interesting meetings and aerial yoga.
Yes, we do all kinds of things there, and it's just the beginning of it too, which is really fun. So
you have a vision.
But yes,
ideally in your warehouse. This is where you live and work, you parent, you do the whole thing, and what was your goal for this thing going in?
Let's see. Going in, well, moving into it, it's pulled everything that I love and do already together, and then it's opened up the space to create even more of those things. So, it's my social fun stuff that I love to do, music and not play, but hear and support artists and creatives. And so it's also allowing me to open a community classroom, which is a big part of it, and have a space to support people to do the work that they do and do their thing, right, and provide just have the space to do that. So
cool. And so this community classroom, so I've seen like on Facebook, you've already had some sort of events there. Mm-hmm. Like what I'll tell what you've done.
I'm doing a house concert a month. That's been really fun. And I've had a Clay and DJ party. We had a big Fat Cat Creamery came in with their ice cream cart, this huge cart with the umbrella. It was really fun. Right. We had a DJ and everybody was doing clay with McCheeks Academy, and so it was just like one of my goals is to have adult playtime and fun, and so I don't think there's enough of that happening, and I just love fun things like that and games, and I'm gonna have movie nights. I have a projector that projects onto this huge wall. And I just love adult fun playtime.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so this is part of your profession, it's part of your income, is it not?
Oh, that's what I do.
Yeah. And so in addition, are you still doing the coaching thing?
Yeah.
All right. So you do the one-on-one personal coaching, you do groups, and then you also have these events at your place. Right.
And then so the expanded version of that is moving into the community classroom, like helping people get things started, helping people create things. Right. The general idea is I'm big into all the doing that it takes to create something. So everything is set up so that you are engaging in the doing, right there, hands-on in the moment. In the class, you're doing the stuff that it takes to create something bigger.
Rather than just talking about it in theory.
We're not talking about any of it. We're doing it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love that.
In fact, it's really one of the challenging things is to get the teachers to not teach so much.
Yeah.
It's to pare that part down and have this integrated, hands-on, guide them through the doing of it.
Right.
So,
to not teach so much. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so you have all this going on, and well, let's back up. Let's go way back. What we're gonna do, we're gonna figure out how you got to this point. We're gonna do a little timeline with you and talk about some experiences and decisions and influences that you've had over your life. And just go back, and I'll tell you what. With you, let's go back to when things got interesting, which is always for most people like middle school, junior high. Mm-hmm. And so in middle school, junior high, we'll say like 6th, 7th, and 8th. Talk to me about kind of who you were as a person, personality, some of the emotions you were going through at that point. What was life like for you?
Let's see. It was a very interesting time. I remember in elementary, I had really long, straight hair, like to my, bottom of my back, long, straight hair, and had this certain look. And then I can look back and say that was just very typical fashion for me now. But so going into 6th grade, I cut my hair off to my, like above my shoulders and permed it. So it was like completely drastically different. And then, but there's this funny feeling like, almost like, a woman. Like I went it like, I'm 10. I go into my womanhood or something, right?
Double digits.
Yeah. And so I remember that very distinctly and like feeling paid attention to differently. And so in junior high for me, and this is just very much my character and personality anyway, but I remember just feeling really sensitive and like this combination of like popular and sensitive,
right?
And not knowing how to quite deal with that. And
was it one of those experiences where you were worrying about what other people thought about you? And
no, I'm not. I mean, and it's not that I don't care about what other people think. I do, and I still do, of course. But I've always had a certain, let's say confidence, but just a certain comfort with who I am, and I never felt weird. Like it was just like, this is how I want to look. This is how I want to do things. And I've always been okay with that, to a certain degree, and have grown that. But there's just this, like feeling, I don't know, feeling really divided. And I've always felt that way. Like there's just part of me that's like, on the stage and very comfortable with, it'd be like in drama, but then the other half of me was really shy and really sensitive and, didn't want people to talk to me and, all of that too. So I've always felt that way. And that was starting in junior high really clear to me. And when I love working with teens because of that. I don't work with a lot of teens, but I do enjoy it because if I had understood me then and understood that was okay, it would have made a big difference. So I love working with teens for that reason, because I feel like I can help them understand that who they are is okay.
Is okay.
Yeah.
Such a huge message, I think, because for whatever reason, it's this, I think it's left over from this whole, thousands of years in our DNA of primate where we're trying to fit in with this pack, fit in somehow, when the truth is that's not really how the whole thing works. Everybody's completely different, but to be in that right when you turn double digits, those kids that are 10, 11, 12, I mean, and some of them in their 30s and 40s are still trying to figure that out, that it's just okay. It's all, you're
absolutely.
perfect. You are so perfect, right. Just like you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's still my main message. Like, I mean, it always will come back to understanding yourself, and who you are is completely okay. So, yeah.
what a powerful thing, just for teachers to really share that message with a kid, and because you can spot them, that kid feeling that way.
Yeah,
I mean, there's like this neon sign over their head. It's me.
Right.
And just, stop them on the way in or out of the door, and a hand on the shoulder, and, that look in the eye. Hey, brother,
Oh, it's huge.
you are perfect.
Yeah.
You showed up perfect, and you're perfect exactly the way you should be today. Just a powerful thing.
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, yeah.
How were you doing academically at that time?
I wish I'm almost embarrassed to say like I was a really good student.
Why would you be embarrassed?
I don't, because I feel like I should have been a little bit more rebellious or something. But no, I made really good grades, and for the longest time, straight A's. And
what was that about? Was that like a you thing, or was that like parental pressure?
No. Oh God, no. Parental. No, I was born to teenagers. I didn't have any parental anything, much less pressure. But so, no, that was me. That was just. I actually really like it. I suck at Trivial Pursuit. I'm not that kind. Like, I'm not smart in that way. I don't retain those facts and things like that. But
you got Google on the phone. You don't need.
I don't need that shit anymore.
You got it right here.
But I'm really, one of the things I was really good at was knowing what they wanted me to know. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of learned what I was supposed to know.
Right.
And then there was the other stuff that I really enjoyed, like English and grammar, and
Sure.
I love all that, and math. I love math, and
that's the game of it all. I mean, and a lot of kids figure it out that I really have to know anything. I just need to know what they want me to know on the day they want me to know it, and be able to recall that information at about that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you ask me the next day,
yeah,
I'm sure I'm going to have that information still in there, but I'm going to give it to you on the day you want it.
Exactly.
And so some kids figure that out for just kind of naturally. But for you, it was kind of a you thing, because as you said, you're born to teenagers. And so at this point in your life, going into middle school, your parents are in their late 20s, early 30s.
My mom was 28 when I was in junior high.
And she's doing the best she can, I'm sure, at that time.
Yeah.
I think people do as best as they
of course.
Yeah.
She absolutely did the best she could. And she was a good mom for sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't depend on my parents. I kind of just went ahead and did stuff. Like, I just kind of was like, I got it.
Right.
I'm going to do this. And
so they kind of had a hands off, not a lot of oversight, not a lot of micromanaging your life.
You know what it was is that they just thought I was smarter than them anyway. Mm. And so it was just like, she's got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, it wasn't, I wasn't getting into trouble, and, I had fun, but I just wasn't interested in drinking and drugs, and I've never done drugs, and I just wasn't interested in it. I've always been a little bit more like, I'd rather, like, drug of choice is like caffeine, or I like to feel energetic and excited, and drinking just never made me feel that way. It makes me tired, and that doesn't feel good. And
right.
And then I think growing up too with teenagers, probably some of my rebellion did come in, that, well, I'm not gonna do that because I saw my parents do some things that, I judged that I didn't want to get into. And
at 12.
Yeah.
Fast. And so academic, you're great. And were you involved?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I graduated high school a year early.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And again, that wasn't because.
Are you sure you weren't kicked out? Because there's like a fine line, that I graduated early.
This is such a testimony to my type of intelligence, is that it wasn't that I graduated early because I was so smart. It was because I know how to ask the right questions. And so when I went to, it was like, that last year where you're setting up your schedule and all of that. And because I hated history so much at the time, I would take history in summer school, and just to it was because it was condensed and I didn't have to deal with it throughout the year. So it was just, so by the time I got to the end there, it was like I only had one class left to take, and it was senior English. And so the counselor was like, well, you just have one, all you need is one credit and senior English. And so I've always been a question asker, always. And so I don't know if he would have told me or not, but I just said, well, do I have to take a whole year of school for this one class? And he's like, no, actually you don't. You can take night school and take that class. So that's what I did. So it wasn't about grades. It was just about that's my version of
resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a whole, that level of resourcefulness, that kind of IQ. It's huge. Huge. And it really in school, that traditional model, I'm not saying all schools are all classrooms, but that traditional model, the typical classroom, there's not a lot of opportunity there for resourcefulness. It really is, here's the information, put that in your noggin and be able to put it, recall it and show evidence that you know it on the day I need you to know it.
Yeah.
And so you have this whole little you have the school game figured out. You're doing your thing. You know how to make great grades, and you're graduating early. And during those times, at middle school, high school time, can you think back and if you can picture a teacher, maybe somebody comes to mind that you really had a connection with and served as an influence in your life? Maybe it was positive, maybe it was negative. I don't know. But is there anybody like that you can recall?
There was this I don't know, this one moment where I had this his teacher, but he was actually one of the coaches, and this was in high school. I really liked him. I liked his style. He was kind of casual and he was funny and just cool,
Yeah.
And he asked us a question one day, and to me, this was one of the only times in school that anybody ever pulled on the way that I thought. And, and he said, all right, I'm going to give you this quote, and I want you guys to tell me what it means. And so the quote was, all sunshine makes a desert. And I was like, hell yeah. Finally, somebody speaking my language, like asking me to figure something like that out. Like, that's what I wanted to, that's what I was good at,
right.
And so, and that's not, anyways, what I got excited about anyway. And so I was like, yeah. So, it was this moment where, I raised my hand and I'm like, well, yeah, it means this. And so, it was just so validating, and it felt like one of the first times it was really my style of thinking, like somebody really speaking to me in that way. So it was really fun. And then I got lots of, kudos for.
Yeah, it felt good.
Yeah. Because I knew what it meant.
Right. And it kind of reinforced the way you felt and the way you thought. And so that kind of put you even more, solid on that path that you're naturally on.
Yeah.
And what class was that? Was that like an English class?
An English class. Yeah.
I tell you what, coaches get so much stuff. People, talk, but I tell you, if you want to see some real teaching, there's coaches out there that are just amazing educators, not just on the field. Listen, man, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of vehicles for learning lessons in life, and whether it's band or athletics or drill team or whatever the thing is, or, student council, but, to watch those coaches work, the men and women that serve as coaches on the court, on the field, and what they do with life lessons out there in terms of working together as a group and setting goals and achieving and collaboration and resourcefulness, and then taking that and then applying it into the classroom, what happens to be English or history. There's amazing people doing amazing work out there.
For sure.
And let me ask you this, we don't really talk about this a lot on the podcast, but I'm interested. Was there somebody, a teacher that you can recall that really was just a bad fit for you and your style of learning?
I don't know. I don't know. Nothing. I can think of I mean, I could speak to that in general, but I think it really like I think it comes back to the same thing with parenting for me, and like my relationship with my parents was just like I didn't really pay attention to those things. I don't think I was influenced enough. I think it's a huge influence. I'm not saying that. I just think me personally,
right.
I just kind of moved on.
You got to tune them out.
Like I just go ahead and do what I do. And so I don't really,
right.
I'm sure there was, but it just doesn't.
So even at that
I was
point,
enough, like self-sufficient enough that it was like, I tune people, like I just tune them out and just learn what I need to learn and kind of self-study or something.
So you're kind of creating this little hula hoop of reality
yeah.
around you. This is my little world. And you people can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
Outside of my little hoop.
Exactly.
Really not gonna.
And I've never really quite realized I grew up so much that way, but as we're talking about it, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think with your situation growing up, as a kid with parents just doing, you can't do better until you know better, and they're doing as best as they could with what they knew how to do at the time, and the resources that they had. So it kind of required you to be resourceful on your own.
Oh yeah, like that was survival. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Right, just trying to figuring out the world.
Yeah, and it didn't feel. I mean, that it didn't feel like a struggle. I kind of prefer, like it was just also my natural way of, like I just preferred things that way anyway. I don't really like people telling me what to do. I don't really, I prefer to just, I like influence. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love, I do a lot of things that involve influence. And I'll try a lot of things and go to things and like pick the one or two things or read a book, and it's like that one thing I will get, and the whole book was worth it to get that one piece. And so that's just kind of how I operate in general. So to me, school and life and all of that was just was that.
Yeah. And so, and I'm sure now as a parent that's kind of influenced how you raise your kids and the conversations you have, at the dinner table talking about school and what was going on that day and really what the whole point of this whole thing is.
For me, I believe that what's really important is kids feeling like they get to be themselves. And so I would say that's probably more of my focus as a parent is, who are you? How does that feel to you? Recognizing the differences in, I have two children, who each of them are. And, a lot of the conversations that I have with my kids is really helping them understand each other. And that, when you say this to your brother, that, he's this type of person and he gets really sensitive about those things and feels rejected and then reacts this way. And so, to me, it's really honoring who kids are as people and letting that be important. And I don't know, I don't get as much into parenting skills as much as it's just relating with them. And I just know for me growing up, I wish I would have had more like feeling related to more.
Yeah.
And feeling more seen as a person. And so, I think as parents, we all do, we pull those things from our childhoods that we didn't experience and go, well, I'm going to do more of that, right. I really needed that. And, so that, I think that's what I do too, is just make sure they feel individualized and seen as who they really are.
I think it's interesting, that the whole statement of honoring who they are, and even looking, for you to look back and think, where it wasn't really, we say if you could have more of, you didn't say, I wish I had more structure in the house. I wish there was more discipline there. I wish I was, there was more accountability. What it was, I wish I was honored more and related to. Mm-hmm. For who I was, for who I am as a person. And I think that's so true. Even in a classroom, how teachers, there's a lot of teachers that get caught up in that whole thing of, I need to influence this kid to be a certain way.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. that kid is who that kid is, and you can try all you want to change the kid. And listen, don't get me wrong. I want to add great quality to these kids. I want them to be resourceful and to be courageous and to be intelligent and honorable. Of course, we want all that stuff, But I tell you, a great example I saw was. There was a teacher where I was talking to her, kind of working with her, helping her do a better job with the kids, and she would write her kids up to go to the office because they didn't bring their supplies, and so she'd send them down, and every day she sent them 4 or 5 kids. Well, you know what? These same kids, we check it with the other teachers, they're always prepared, and they always have their stuff ready to go for these other teachers. And you know what? The one main kid that we talked to kind of created the most, that got her worked up the most. It was that kid had a thing. He had a little tournament. He would play online. He plays online video games, and he'd go to his buddy's house to play. And you know what? The kid's there on time. He has his little controller every day. He's ready to go. He's very prepared for that. So it's not really him. It's not the him problem. It's the her. This kid is ready to go and prepared everywhere. And so it's not. So I get that she's trying to teach this skill of being prepared, but when it's not really a skill, it's a choice. And the kid's choosing a lot of places in his life to be responsible and on time. It happens to be your class that he's choosing not to. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
so I get that we want to influence kids. Of course we do. But at the same time, just as important, maybe more important, I think, might be what you're saying, is to honor who they are, relate to them on that level, and make sure they know they're perfect. You're okay just like you are.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think as human beings, we want to please. We want to connect, on a very primal level, And so it's when you approach a child as, I see you and you're amazing and you're wonderful and look at you and look what you can do. Not look what you're supposed to do and now you have this thing to live up to that you're not living up to and all that other stuff that dominoes from that. But look at what you can do. I grew up with my little brother is a very different kind of smart than me. And it's part of why I do what I do and part of why I have this this deep caring for kind of like the underdog a little bit is because I saw him get shadowed by like what appeared to be some kind of better type of intelligence, that I had. But, he was over there making like alarm systems for my door, as like,
Yeah.
in elementary school. And he would like make his Legos motorized and do things before the kits were out that did that for you, And so I was always so impressed with him and was like, because I saw that he could do something I couldn't do. And I couldn't wrap my brain around how he did that. So to me, and it really infuriates me that kids they don't learn the different types of intelligences. And I remember in school one day learning there are 7 types of intelligences. And coming home and just, I swear it would be like how maybe a kid would feel coming home with like an A on their report card was me coming home to tell my brother that.
Right.
Like, I could just, get very emotional about that. But it's like, like, oh my, guess what? Like, it's kind of like, you're smart too. And there's proof, it's not just, and don't get me wrong. Like, I also threw his head against the wall. Like, it's not like I was just so supportive of him, but it was just that, it made me really happy that it made me really sad to see kids that were smart and just didn't feel good about themselves, all because of this particular standard or one way of seeing
right.
Intelligence.
That's the danger of it, It's and we really solidify that with the whole standardized testing thing, and I think one of the where things kind of grow worse from there is we have this whole group of kids, and you think about it, a traditional school system is working for less than half of the kids, significantly less than half. If you look at, because nationwide we have a 50% dropout rate. That no one talks about that, but it's I think Bill Gates does, and he'll say it's like at 64%. But what he's talking about is high school graduation. I'm talking about kids that start in K that graduate from the time 12, 13 years later. So it's about 50% that'll walk across the stage and be given a diploma. Now think about that. So it's 50%. Now if you take away, now some kids are killing it, like you, 90s, 85s, 90s, 95s, making grades. Everybody else, it's kind of working for. So maybe 30-40% of the kids that the school is actually maybe might be working for, maybe. Everybody else is just either they're not getting by, they're not going to finish. And I think one of the challenges is the standardized testing thing, where it makes everybody live up to that same kind of intelligence, and it sets this bar. Well, in theory, that might sound like, but here's where I think we run into the most problems is, well, let's say a kid struggles with math. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pull that kid out of art class. We're going to pull that kid out of PE. We're going to pull that kid out of music class and tutor him on those math skills so he can reach that bar. Meanwhile, that same kid is a phenomenal writer.
Absolutely.
And you know what? He did pretty good on the writing test. We didn't even talk about that. Because he's going to pass. He's in the education world, what we call green. He's going to pass that writing and the language arts and the English. So we don't even talk to him about that because we got to focus. So we're going to spend hours with this kid on math. Well, really, we're missing out on the gifts and the talent the kid came into the world. We're not even talking to him about that. We're not hooking him up with some sort of a mentor where this kid can really write and dig down deep and become this amazing writer that was born to be. Meanwhile, now we have, instead of an amazing, we have a good writer and a mediocre math kid,
right?
Rather than an amazing writer is going to contribute to the world.
Yeah, and all the focus has now become on has gone to what this kid is not good at instead of helping him flourish in the area and have that confidence and just huge validation in the stuff that he's naturally good at. So then you end up with a kid who's like, well, I wasn't quite honored for my writing. So, not getting that feedback. Like we thrive on feedback. And so as kids, that feedback that we get is, well, like that's okay, but we're going to focus on this. What did you just teach the kid to focus on something else that they're not, gifted at, and that's not really that important? But we need to focus on this and try to get better at those things that you're not good at. That I don't think it works that way. I don't think that we need to focus on doing the things that we're not good at. Instead, enhance the stuff that you're naturally good at, the stuff that's naturally you, and get help for the rest of it.
Sure.
So, and you just end up with adults who aren't very confident about the things that they are most passionate about.
It's true. And they're kind of trained now to also enter the workforce and do a job where you just got to grind it out. I just got to do work. Yeah. Sometimes I hate things and I have to do it. Well,
right.
Is that true? Well, in their reality, because that's what they learned for 12 years. Sure. You just got to grind it out, Mm-hmm. And all right, so you graduated a year early, and then and what's happened at this point in your life? You go to college. What's your scene?
I did. I went to college. So one of the things that, if we can go back a little bit to 8 years old, and then I'll skip over, but is when I was 8, I had an experience in class that with Miss Ashby. Remember her being colorblind, and I thought that was so fascinating. I always wanted to talk to her about it. But and so we had an assignment where we had to pick a word in the dictionary that was going to be a challenge to our classmates to pronounce, to spell, to define, and all of that, right? So I opened the book, and the word I zero in on is psychology. And I was like, oh my God, I've got this in the bag, right? PSY, are you freaking kidding me? Like, it's done.
Yeah.
It was like, I could not wait to get up there. And
Psychology? What? Psychology?
Yeah. So,
sign me up.
We're 8, right?
Yeah.
So I had my word, and I was excited, and so I was going to win, the whole thing. And then I read the definition, and something happened. And I remember reading the definition and just having this moment of sweats, the whole, this whole thing where I was like, I just had this clarity of, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to help people. And so from 8 years old on, that has never changed. Like that was the moment I defined what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so when we skip forward to, college and all of that. My plan was like, oh, I'll get a PhD in psychology because that's what I'm doing and that's what I was focused on. And that's the way you go. And at that time, it would be the way you go. And so I started going to school for that. And then for the first time ever in my life, I had a situation where somebody actually, my daughter's dad actually like challenged that thought. It was like, you don't have to do it that way. And I had never considered not doing it that way, not once ever. And so from that moment was when I was in college for psychology and just doing all that stuff. And it was, so from that moment, I considered I could do it a different way because that way actually wasn't working for me anyway. I'm not the traditional, as fine as I did in school. I didn't like it. Like it wasn't,
right.
It's not how I wanted to learn. It wasn't like I was saying it didn't honor the way I thought and, who I was anyway. And so, so from that moment, I decided to not pursue school and realize that, this is actually taking away from what I know, and I remember just deciding that it was implanting things like, sure, it's not that it's bad information, but I can learn those things if I'm really interested in a specific thing about psychology, then I can learn those things on my own. But I remember feeling like this is putting things into my brain that I don't want to do it in this way that everybody else does it. I've never been that way ever. And so I had that realization. So then it was, well, let me look into another way of doing this. And so from that point on, I've really honored creating my own, learning things and educating myself with it, but pulling from those inspirations also and studying the stuff that interests me and really speaks to my way of thinking about helping people. Uh-huh. And so really it's been this, 15-year kind of, building of theory and just letting my own natural thoughts come out and the intuitiveness and all of that just happens. And so for me, it was really about, I'm not going to put this stuff in that interrupts my natural way of thinking about this.
Sure.
So
yeah, because it's really two different focuses. I mean, there's like, you can focus on school or you can focus on learning.
Exactly.
If you focus on school, the nice part about that, you know what, there's an end.
Yeah.
It's called a degree, and then you're done.
Yeah.
But learning, there's no end to this thing.
Yeah, and it's such a different process. Going to school, I think the focus is more on, I have a class to go to. I'm gonna show up. I'm going to do my work. It's more of this, it's, to me, that's not me being engaged, and I don't like just, I'm not a fan of doing anything just to do it. And I mean, at all, like, so if I'm not engaged in something, then it's not for me anyway. And so yeah, it becomes this step-by-step thing, this, very left brain kind of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And instead I prefer the learning, and being in charge of my learning. And I like structure, and that's fine, but there are other ways to do that without like the act of going to school.
Sure.
And that really works for some people. I know that, but it
absolutely.
doesn't work for me.
Man, I'll tell you what, there's a whole not huge, but there's a percentage of the population that love the school thing. They're able to combine learning and school on the same path. Mm-hmm. Other people, not so much, but that's the beauty of the world, especially now.
Yeah. And if I were in a class, and I have been in those classes where it's set up that way, like where I can really engage in the material and the class and the experience of it,
Right.
absolutely.
The
I love it. Like
collaboration, all that.
I still do things that, I still take classes and workshops and things like that. But I choose the ones that I'm going to be able to engage in and experience.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
And so this person, your baby's daddy, he has this influence where he really just plants a seed, plants a suggestion that, you know what, where I know it's awesome.
That's great. Thanks, Hal.
And he plants a suggestion where you know what, there's alternatives out there. Yeah. And so where do you go with that?
I started studying not intentionally, actually. Like I got involved in a reevaluation counseling process that
RC.
Yeah.
I want you to know I'm educated in that area.
Yeah. Go ahead. I started, that was an avenue to do my own work. And it was a process, and what I really liked about it is that it was a process, and it was also education. I got to learn about things like oppression, and I got to learn about, like, this was the stuff I was more interested in was, okay, people who are raised this way have these types of patterns, and because they learn this type of thing and they're in this type of environment, and that stuff to me was fascinating. I liked knowing those things. So it was like this process of doing my own work, but it was learning about people at the same time. And that for me was really, really cool. So it was, it was information, and it was, okay, this is how I can, think about, like, if I have somebody coming to me that's, raised Catholic, it just gives me a little bit of information about that person that I can be thinking about and taking into consideration about what their environment might have been like how they might have been raised. And so I really liked that combination. Plus it was, one of the most important things I've ever done in my life is 13 years of my own work. Yeah. And, I went from, I was talking about being that, like, shy. I was never shy, and I've learned that now. It wasn't that I was shy, I was just really sensitive, and didn't really know what to do with it, and a little bit introverted. And so, introverted people feel quiet, but I went from experiencing that, like, people thinking I don't like them, and, because I'd get quiet and all of this stuff, to learning how to move through that stuff and see myself differently and learn that, I'm okay and there's nothing to fix, that it's all fine. And if I can learn how to work with who I am, then it just works better, and I can communicate who I am with other people better, and they can understand me. And so I learned all of that through that process about me, and that has probably been one of the most important things I've ever done in my life. It cleared up my stuff so that I can help other people.
Yeah.
So,
and in your coaching process, when people come to you, and what usually is the motivation for somebody to show up on your doorstep? Or has like something catastrophic happened, or is just like a straw that finally broke the back and they just need help, or they feel themselves sinking, or what?
I think it's probably any of it. I mean, I think it all comes down to not feeling good, in some way or another. It's, we don't feel good. Yeah. And I think that there's all kinds of ways to learn how to feel good. And so it's this really basic thing, but, helping people identify and understand what that means, and, I mean, it gets really detailed, but you take that basic principle and, understand what that means for each person.
Yeah.
I think when we feel good, a lot of other things happen. A lot of things open up, and things get better and feel better. And so, for some people, like, to really find out, like, what's not feeling good for you, and helping them. I know it sounds really basic, and I think it is, but um, it never sounds that basic, but
Right.
it is. I think, I think that's the deal is there's always some way that we're not feeling good. And if we can connect with that and work on it, and own that the responsibility of it, that it does, it takes work, and it's worth it. But
What do you think usually is the I don't know if there's a usual cause for that not feeling good? Is it something that they're doing that they know deep down inside they shouldn't be doing, or is it something they're not doing that they know deep down inside that they should be doing?
I think it's all of it. It could be that, it could be as simple as, like, I really want to fit into my jeans, and some people are very affected by not fitting into their jeans and what that means, what it means to them. It's like, everything means something to us. We, not fitting into your jeans can mean one thing to somebody and something else to somebody else, so, it's really what it means to you, how you translate that. And, for somebody, it may mean, like, I'm not taking care of myself, and that makes me feel bad, so, what was your question?
I just like if you found if it's sometimes somebody's doing that they know they shouldn't be doing, or is it something that someone's not doing that they know they should be doing?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's all of it. And sometimes it's getting to a place in their lives where they realize they've been just on autopilot, and they don't want to live that way anymore.
Most people are, I think.
Yeah, right. And
Playing the game.
yeah. So there's there will be, I've always wanted this, and I just don't let myself have that, or I don't let myself want that.
Yeah.
And so it's getting in touch with, no, you get to have that. You get to, absolutely get to have that. And, just getting off of autopilot, and, it's not a personal thing. It's not, we can't blame people for that. You have to take responsibility for it, but we learn that. Just talking about the school system. And
well, it starts as a child, be quiet, stop crying, eat this, don't eat that, do this, don't do that. And then you go to school, and I get it, man.
Yeah,
listen, there's 33 kids in a classroom. There's got to be some sort of, you can do this, but you can't do that if we're going to all be successful in this room. And then you should go to college, and you should do what you're told there, and you show up there and you do what you're told, and you should get a job. And this is what you kind of job you should get. And you show, and next thing you know, you got bills and credit cards, and you're on this thing, and you're miserable, but you're locked in at this point in your mind anyway.
Sure. Well, there's a mold, and it's unfortunate, but there's that mold, and as parents, it's so much easier when your kids follow the mold, and in all honesty, it's hard to have a rebellious kid. It's hard to have, it's hard to have the kid that wants to do it their way, and, thinks differently. Like, it's tough because it requires extra time and energy to put in. But, I was hanging out with a friend of mine the other day, and she was saying that she was like, God, she's so competitive. Like, it really, about our daughter. And I was like, that's great. I was like, you know what? I said, your daughter is the one that would be the pro athlete, not mine. And all because, like, even if they have the same level of skill, it's because yours wants it.
Right.
And she was like, oh, I guess, yeah. And so, I think as parents, we see these things, and it's like, why can't they just be easier in a way?
Sure.
Right? And it's true. And when you're going through the parenting of it, it's true. But, and I have a client, and, she and her daughter come in because her daughter is so rebellious and, like, unruly and all this stuff. And so one of the things that I focus on is helping the parent understand this is the nature of a creative child, and help her understand how amazing she is. It's not that, of course, she thinks her daughter is amazing, but but helping her see, like, project these qualities into the future and say, your daughter is the one asking questions. She's the one that says, like, that's not good enough. And she's challenging things. And, and so really enhancing that behavior and helping the daughter see. And it's been really fun because I get to talk with her about empowerment and, like, kind of like, hey, like, let's learn some communication skills so that you can have more of what you want. Like, this is, you actually get to have a lot of power because of who you are. Like, this is a really cool thing. And approaching it that way so that she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can, she's motivated by, she gets to have more of what she wants. And she's a person who's very motivated by getting what she wants, right? And so we'll talk about it in that way where it's lifting up all this good stuff that it makes, she's a leader. She's a leader, and that's the bottom line. She's a creative leader. And so she's out there, she's this big personality and she's out there and she kind of gets in trouble and, and so sure. And so it's enhancing all that stuff and making her feel really proud of all these good things, because kids like that, what they hear is like, you're wrong, you're bad. It's like, just stop being so big and, out there and causing commotion, but as adults, like, we want those people doing other things, but we just don't want to raise them.
That's a challenge of teaching and parenting. What we always say, you have to be careful not to parent those qualities out of your kid.
Absolutely.
And you're right, because it's tough, man. It's late at night and I'm exhausted.
Exactly.
Just be quiet.
Right.
Don't argue. Just go brush your teeth and be done with it.
Yeah. Where's the? I won't say that, but yeah.
And so what's next for you? So you have your coaching stuff going on. You have your events at your classes, all kinds of stuff going on at your warehouse. What else?
Well, I mean, it's developing. I mean, this is the very beginning of developing this dream. It's almost like kind of a wellness center for people who are starting things in a way, like this very, like, you can step into it and be nurtured and supported and experience it and, all of that. And so I've always wanted that. I've always wanted this community center type thing that, but my interest is, helping people do their thing. Like, that's really, really important to me. So that shows up whether it's the musicians or it's, somebody that's, really connecting with their passion and what they're really here to do. I like aligning that. I like, having those conversations with people and extracting that, what is it specifically, and helping people see that little specific thing that you do is yours.
Yeah.
And it's important. And other people don't do it like that. That's your style. And even if you're, a photographer, there's lots of other photographers, but that's your style. That's the way you do it. And so I love helping people align with their way. And so it's this center kind of thing that I've been dreaming about for years. And so it's happening. And so the community classroom is part of it. That's kind of the entry level part of it. There's I want to be an investor. And so I'm working on this part of my business that is about investing in people's work, but through resources and skills. And so I'm creating a program that they can come into that allows them to, like, I get to be an investor in the person behind the project or business. And so, and eventually I'd love to be an investor with finances and stuff too. But so I'm creating that. And oftentimes what you'll see is people don't have either the financial resources or the resources in general to start something. And so there's this gap. And it's like, okay, if I had that kind of help and support, then I could do this and I could start this and I could create it. But I can't afford to pay somebody to help me learn those things that would then help me make more money. And so there's this
Stuck, yeah.
funky little spot there. Well, that's the spot that I'm helping people with so that they can come into it. I can be an investor on the front end of it and give them that edge that allows them to start learning what they need to learn and then make the money without having to invest the money into it up front.
It's powerful stuff.
Very cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah.
And you know what? I tell you what's interesting is how you've had this whole congruency in terms of who you are and helping people and this unique intelligence and combining all that since the age of 8 all the way through middle school, high school, and here you are today, really doing the same thing just on a new level as you progress and as you learn and as you grow through life as well and sharing it with other people, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You're awesome. Teya Sparks. Thanks so much for being here, and you just never know who's going to sit in the chair there, and what we're going to hear, and wow, what a unique perspective and life, and all that you bring to the world, man. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Hal.
High five. You're awesome. Thanks so much.
Now I have to pee.